I don't remember when, why, and how my parents came down to the decision to send my sister and I to the United States. But I do remember my father expressing his excitement and said my future is going to be very successful if I move to the US. Not only had I known there was no such thing as guaranteed success, but my understanding of success back then was completely different from success I perceive today. I simply imagined becoming Kevin McAllister from the movie Home Alone, a pinnacle of a dream for a 10-year-old kid. By the time I woke up from this dream, I was already at JFK Airport in New York City, and my journey in the United States officially began. My father stayed in Korea for his business, so my mother raised my sister and I alone. But both my parents definitely underestimated the process of attaining permanent residency with a bit of a bad luck. After several years of relentless effort, the process failed, and my mother officially became undocumented, which naturally made me undocumented because I was her underage dependent. Besides the fact that we couldn't visit Korea, the first time I understood the consequences of being undocumented was when I got into college. You see, according to the College Board, students are spending on average $133,000 for their tuition. Therefore, most students either apply for financial aid or receive student loans. I was not qualified to apply for either option simply because I was undocumented. Finance was a major difficulty, but it was not the only issue. Most college students apply for an internship during their summer vacation. I had no such privilege. Most students get stressed about their job interviews and company they want to represent. My stress stemmed from the inability to apply for one. Most are eager to graduate and make a living. I was concerned about what I can even do after graduation. Considering six-figure investment into my education, I realized there were no opportunities for me. Frustration turned into anger, and a sense of hopelessness devoured my whole existence. For over 4 years, I've asked myself, why am I even here? What are all these for? And what am I supposed to do? It was one of the most depressing years of my life. The life of undocumented immigrants exemplified the life of unfairness, constantly fighting for our rights, discrimination, and opportunities. Unfortunately, the only thing we can do is to voice our opinion and wait for our governments to find a resolution. Some members of Congress understood our pain, fought for our rights, and tried to pass a bill called Development Relief and Education for Alien Minor Act, also known as DREAM Act, to provide a pathway to citizenship to young undocumented immigrants. The problem is that there have been 10 different versions of the DREAM Act introduced over the last 18 years, all of them which showed great odds of approval, yet ultimately failed. We dreamers ask ourselves, what are the odds for us to accomplish our dreams? There was an alternative option for me to obtain a legal status: marriage. Marrying a United States citizen will put me on an expedited permanent residency process. It's a process with a high rate of success where a person gets a 2-year conditional green card in a year and a 10-year permanent residency after 3 years in marriage. However, the risks are high as well. Marriage to adjust one's immigration status for one is extremely unethical, and should a process fail, it will only put me into a deeper hole. Both my mother and my sister tried to adjust their status through marriage, where one succeeded, but the other unfortunately failed. But regardless of their result, their 3 years of the process were completely brutal. Any relationship can turn upside down. Love can turn into hate, and no one knows how the others might change the future. Imagine getting blackmailed or physically injured by your partner, and there's nothing you can do about it. Ultimately, I refused to consider this option despite its odds of success. I realized that my entire life was already outside my control, and I was not ready to give up the little control I left to someone else for the next 3 years. Perhaps it was my self-justice, ego, righteousness, or maybe it was just my stupidity. But it had me decline 3 marriage proposals and promise myself to find another way. In June 2012, President Barack Obama introduced Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, also known as DACA. It is a temporary 2-year protection for selective groups of young dreamers to legally work, obtain driver license, and pay taxes. With the help of DACA status, I went to study abroad in Istanbul, Turkey for 6 months, and it allowed me to experience working in financial services, IT project management, SaaS startup, and nonprofit organization. Although this does not offer any pathway to citizenship, it symbolized a sense of freedom, a liberty, and opportunity. It allowed hundreds of thousands of young immigrants to step out of the shadow to pursue their dreams. It provided a hope that the country which we've known all our lives is finally on its way to accept us as part of the community. Little had I known, this could all be taken away in a blink of an eye. On September 5th of 2017, the new administration under President Donald Trump officially announced to rescind DACA. All our lives flipped upside down. I remember going to the work next day, feeling petrified. My hands were shaking, my mind felt numb, and I couldn't get rid of a sense of fear. My life has just been taken away by my government. My country was branding and identifying us as thieves, rapists, and garbage. It was painful, and I felt suffocated. So I decided to do something so daring in order to regain control of my life. I looked at the world. Will I have a better odds of succeeding in my goals? Better life outside of my home? The phrase big frog in a small pond often refers to a very important person in a place where there are less important people. But to me, this phrase reminded me there are more than what we see. The world is bigger, and there are more in life than our own little bubble. So I started to look at my options. 1, stay and blindly wait for the DREAM Act. 2, marry someone. 3, pursue a master's degree. And 4, leave my home and go back to Korea. Despite everything going against my favor, marriage was still something I was not willing to do. The first option was the most bitter. For one, the odds of this to happen was extremely slim, and considering my age where most of my friends and peers are already building their life and careers, it was extremely difficult to blindly wait for the unknown, which left me with a higher education and leave my home. During my years in college, I promised myself I will attend a top-tier graduate school. But considering the lack of opportunity I'll have post-graduation due to my status, the idea of investing another $160,000 for an MBA in the States was just simply terrifying. Furthermore, leaving my home without any purpose was simply driving at night with a broken headlight. But the combination of these two looked extremely appealing. So I researched a top-tier MBA program abroad and applied for an MBA and MBD dual degree program at IE. The day I received my acceptance letter was the moment when I realized my plan to leave wasn't finally in motion. It created a deadline. My clock began to move forward, and it was truly a bittersweet moment. I initially thought that once I commit to leave, I just need to pack and go. Boy, I was wrong about that. I wasn't aware that I was standing by a beach right before tsunami. The first wave was caused by the fact that DACA received massive spotlight. It was the first time this topic surfaced in mainstream media for more than a week. Every member of Congress was talking about it, and new version of the DREAM Act and comprehensive immigration bill were introduced. It sparked and ignited the last bit of hope in me. Although I knew the odds were slim, it didn't stop me from clinging on for the best outcome. After 18 years, how could I not? In order to have no regret, I decided to defer my intake to IE. Also, I felt obligated to contribute to the DACA community. I was in a unique position amongst DACA recipients to experience working in a Fortune 500 and be accepted to a top-tier business school in the world. It was a moral duty, my final push to shape my hope into reality. To help the dreamer community, I've called numerous senators in and outside of my district, reached out to news reporters, volunteered my time with the nonprofit organization that supports DACA, and visited Capitol Hill and shared my story to every Congress member I could find. Then there were my friends and family. First, my mom regularly changed her mind about her support for me. Supportive in the morning and the opposite at night. She was feeling guilty about the fact that the choice that she had made put me in this situation and that my decision was just filled with uncertainties and unknowns. Then there was one of my best friends, Casey, who suddenly made an announcement that he's going to marry his girlfriend in October and asked me to be his groomsman. I was flattered, happy, and honored for him to consider me as someone truly important to him. But I also felt equally painful by the fact that by then, I'll already be in Spain without any pathway for me to return for the next 10 years. My only regret for leaving the state is the fact that I couldn't be there for him at one of the most important moments of his life. And this regret is something I'll have to endure for the rest of my life. Despite all of these events, I was determined to leave. And here I am in Spain, making every moment count. I want to take every risk, go out to the world, try and experience everything I can while I'm still young. I believe life perhaps isn't that long, but it's definitely not that short either. Every successful entrepreneur in the world today and historically believes that the failure breeds success. I'm ready to face my failure, and the time to experience failure is now and not tomorrow. I'm the minority amongst Korean Americans, dreamers, and DACA recipients. But I'm not the only minority here. Everyone is unique in their own ways. So the question we often ask, what are the odds, or what are the odds of success and failures, is no longer appropriate because whoever contributed the answer to these questions is not you or me. Surely these numbers can help to make a better decisions, but my prior experiences taught me not to let these historical odds determine my decisions. Instead, I want the decision I make today determine the odds for tomorrow. Our individual journey can be seen as lonely and dreadful, but remember that we all have friends and family who always have faith and belief in us wherever we are. Believe in yourself, learn from the decision you make, and most importantly, try your best to enjoy the moment. After tonight, let's all try to change the question, what are the odds, to what are my odds? Thank you.